Well, how about time for another dungeon tour with Whip since I've recently completed this build. Now, a lot of people have asked me, hey Whip, can I have some building tips? Well, all I gotta say is this. Two main points you want to consider is one, have an idea of what you want something to look like first, kind of go with it, but kind of have a general idea of what you want to build. And two, don't worry about size. If you need to make something bigger, be sure to make it bigger. Especially with little houses, like, you don't want too high ceilings, like, that's really cramped. Anyway, what I have here is basically a dungeon where the ancient creeper race might have been, because for some reason on Redcross there are no creepers. So I thought, okay, we need a dungeon to explain this. And the first trap we see is a pit of lava, which obviously you aren't really going to fall into. However, if people automatically rush into the dungeon, I can imagine someone behind is going to fall right in. And you know what? That lava, there's no way to get out. You just straight up die. You can't go back. You lose all your items. It's awful. So if you try to run out of the temple like this, maybe on your first go, or if you're being really, stupid, you'll die. I put that there to show that right at the start, this dungeon means business. And we've got some wool on the walls just because, you know what? Randomly generated pyramids. They've got wool. A tripwire here, which you can't avoid. And the funny thing with tripwires is, if you stand inside them and you hook them up like this, the more you walk back and forth, the more will fire. So, if you get hit by the first one, it'll possibly knock you back into the wire for more damage. Again, if you expect to be playing this with more than one person, it'll probably be deadly. Anvils, they look nice for altars. I don't know if I can do this right now, but let's go into survival mode to show off the rest of this temple. Now, the concept I wanted to do with this temple was tripwires and the new wooden buttons haven't been used that much, as far as I'm aware, so I wanted to build a dungeon absolutely full of traps. Prizes, yes, but firstly, traps. I wanted this dungeon to be actually deadly. The other one just was deadly because there were zombies everywhere, and because it was a big scary maze. This one, however, is awesome. Now, to start off with, you have to shoot an arrow into each of the creeper's eyes. Now, you see how there's just a wall down there? Well, if I can pull this off right, hopefully. Yes, there we go. You just saw it open. Funny, huh? First go. Well, you know what? I built the temple, so I kind of know what I'm doing by now. It may take people other ways, and you know what? Having more than one way to complete a puzzle is cool, too, because if you, jump up the cactus, I think you actually might have some height to be able to shoot in one and then the other. You know what? Maybe I'll show you the redstone in the back here for a minute. Why don't we do that? Because it's kind of hard to explain. We've got the pistons here pointed towards there, which are also hooked up to these repeaters, which push power into there, so that you don't see the wiring behind it. Because in RP servers, not seeing redstone wiring is actually really important. So these ones push the pistons into place when the power is on, which is simultaneously being powered right here. And the great thing with the wooden button, which is used throughout this temple, did you see how it just reset? Yes, after exactly 60 seconds, the arrow on the wooden button will despawn. So all the doors that you enter will actually self-close. This is awesome. Now that it's on, you can see what's going on, I guess. Again, the power went back through these pistons, pushed them in place, which they were now right in this position here. So they automatically went on. And that's how you do a 2x2 door. I did not really realize this, and I kind of found it out by accident. Power is being generated by the redstone torches here. There's a button. Where's the button? I think I'll have to go fly for a moment. Yes, okay, the button's on the other side of this. So you hit this button, hit this, turns off this one. And because there's two, that means you have to shoot both the eyes. And the timer really starts whenever the first arrow begins, because, then 60 seconds later the arrow despawns, this one will turn back on, and the whole thing will happen. Anyway, let's go back through. Oh, whoops. Anyway, presumably, once you fall down here, because I think I explained that well enough, you land in here. And then you've got a lot of ways you could go. I figure this is like the big entrance to the temple, but also perhaps where they expect people to drown, so there isn't really a clear route to go. You can look around a bit. You know what? Since I'm explaining this temple, let's just go through some of the areas that that I really deliberately put in here. Here we have the labyrinth chamber. There are two ways to get to this. One is a very awful trap which I hope most people won't go through. And you can kind of tell it's a trap because the area is lit up. Like, you're going to want to head over here. But if you're not careful, there's 2 pressure plates here, which will automatically open up this, which, when you fall down, will leave you at 1 heart. So, I recommend against that. The other way that you go to get to the labyrinth is up this waterfall. Yeah, I know. It doesn't make a lot of sense, end up in a temple and have to swim up a waterfall, but it's Minecraft and you can do this. Anyway, then you head down here and you find yourself on the other side of this gate, and here is my labyrinth. Oh boy, this is great. You can't tell that you're in a dead end, like right here, until you're right here. This is the glory of the cobblestone walls. They have just enough so that they are still walls, and you can't get through them, but you can't see them until you're next to them when they're set up like this. So this is possibly one of my best mazes. I am going to skip to the end right here, just to show you what's going on in this particular maze. Here's the end gate. It's closed. Directly below it is this room, I think. Give me a minute to walk through here. Is it this way? I'm a bit disoriented. Yeah, I think I went the wrong way entirely. Uno momento, friends. I'm going to... That's the beginning. That is the beginning. Okay. Pretend with a minute that I know what I'm doing because I built the thing and there's a spot in front of me, game. There we go. Okay, so... Now I had to put a stair at the end here so that people couldn't actually shoot through the cobblestone walls, because that's actually possible to shoot through these tiny corners. You wouldn't believe it, but it's true. Anyway, once you get to the end, you have to shoot an arrow through the stair to hit this button. Then, like I said, 60 seconds later, the arrow despawns. So right now, I hit that, right? Yes, I did. 60 seconds later, the path will be closed again. But right now, due to that arrow, if you find your way back up here, you can escape. I've never done this before. It's basically a timed maze. Number 1, you have to find the chamber below, and number 2, you have to get back up here in time. Woo-wee! I know when people are on time challenges, they make all sorts of mistakes. So this should be a quite difficult maze, and of course there's a prize in a sarcophagus. Excuse me. I'm a little excited because this is the first time I get to show off this massive dungeon that I've created here. Alright, oh, yes. Then you fall down here. Back in the water. Where to now, you might think? Well, there aren't that many other areas. Assuming you don't fall down that trap, the next place you would probably go to get to the rest of the temple is obviously through the water, because anybody exploring a temple would end up in here. Now, for the sake of argument, I've used sheep spawn eggs in this temple, just because I couldn't use skeleton ones because angry mobs turning off are off. Also, some of the dispensers might be dead right now, so you might not get that whole experience. But basically, we find ourselves here in a dangerous chamber because lots of these switches will just straight up spawn mobs. That one actually will spawn a mob on each of these 4 pillars, and they're all going to be skeletons. So this is basically Temple of Arrow time, right? You got switches on the walls, you don't know what they do. Definitely enough time to shoot them. And hopefully somewhere... Is there even a button there? I'm a bad shot sometimes. Anyway. Oh, I bet the dispensers are empty. Anyway. One of them will actually open the sacred chamber. And then in here, of course, we have a burial room full of sarcophagi and chests all around where you might get goodies. There might actually be some zombie spawners in here when we choose to use it. But again, little creeper statues. I wonder what happens if you stand on this. Well, it'll suffocate you. Okay, basically one of the things about this temple is, and this puzzle in general, is that the creeper statues with the dark green wool will kill anyone who stands on the pressure plates behind them. I love traps. And in this room, everything seems fine, right? But if you can shoot this button, it will open the way forward. Well, I wonder how you get up there. Well, I'll tell you right now. It's a parkour with that 60-second time limit. Again, man, I love the fact that wooden buttons work like that. Okay, and I haven't even shown you all the tripwire puzzles. But anyway, suffice to say, you get up there and there's lots of treasure. That's all well and good. Let's just keep moving on through my, you know, Temple of the Evil Creeper or something. And remember I said dark heads are dangerous? Well, that one is too. Let's hit this one if we can. There we go. And well, that didn't work out very well. Sometimes if you don't hit the button quite head on, it won't quite work, but let's just get through here. Into the sacred chamber, which, you know, after 60 seconds will actually lock us inside. Now, the first thing we see is we are covered in dispensers, and there's a tripwire. By the way, you can't avoid the tripwire. Oh! The smart thing to do here might be to kill these, you know, skeletons before they activate this tripwire, and then you can just jump over it. Otherwise, this will spawn 3 more up there and fire arrows all over the place. And here we are in a chamber full of lovely, wonderful goodies. See? Lovely, wonderful goodies. You're going to have to agree with me on that one. How do you get back out? Well, yeah, I knew it. These dispensers have been going like 24/7 because when there are skeletons, you know, and they're sheep right now, when there are sheep in this room, they will walk over the tripwire. They will spawn more. It goes forever. Okay, you will find yourself in a sacred burial chamber with 30 skeletons, pretty much. Oh, by the way, lots of arrows and fire traps going on. Not a very pleasant place to be. I'm going to go jump in the water now, if I can. See, already right now, I only hit it twice, and there's like 8. I may have to change this, because this room is deadly. And by now, as you can see, well, as you can guess, the door I went through is locked. Ooh! Thankfully, there is actually a secret way out right here. And there is a hint to this, that you may even just want to wait until the door closes. That way you can jump the tripwire and possibly avoid that entire horrible affair. You know what? I figured this works, though. Because when you think about pyramids, aren't the sacred chambers of death, well, deathly? I mean, people may not be able to actually survive this, but that's not my concern. I want it to be as deadly a place as possible. And speaking of deadly, I love this next puzzle. This, of course, will just open up a shortcut into that room again. I don't know, I like adding shortcuts for people who get far. Huh, this looks perfectly safe, doesn't it? More tripwires you cannot avoid. Step here once, and down comes the lava. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in a lava jumping puzzle. Oh, this is bad. Okay, but if you can pinpoint your jumps pretty good, it's alright. Ugh. Well, that worked okay. Next up. Well, I like little secret puzzles too, so you can notice that this one isn't a dark head. So, actually it's a wooden plate too, so that might be another good hint if you can see. Opens up a chest right in there. Hooray! Let's head to the next area. Now, in here, we have, well, trapdoors and a... yeah, that's bad. That's bad. Okay, that's very bad. Let's go into creative mode really quickly so I can kind of show you what's going on here. Trapdoors, which when the tripwire activates, will drop the floor out. There is actually not a bad... This isn't that difficult a puzzle, actually. If you just hang onto the wall, you'll be able to survive. However, hitting this will actually just spawn a skeleton. So, how do you get through here? I don't know. Ah, I love this. There are basically two special ways to get through this temple. If you can figure out that you have to shoot this button, and you might not actually even care about this. And, hey, you know what? Shooting this button is more difficult than it seems. I think it might actually be activated now. Let's head through there. Yes! Now the way's actually clear! That button there was just an entire trap to drop a skeleton behind you. Then we find ourselves in this room where, you know, this button will actually activate... Let's do this. And you can shoot an arrow to activate wooden plates, too. Opens that chest there that you can get to. If you swim up one of the waterfalls, you can end up back in the central room if you want to continue. Or just simply head up the stairs. Oh, forgot to mention. If you go behind the stairs, there's one of those treasure chambers. Because, hey, you know what? In pyramids, they bury their dead with their treasures, right? and a wooden button door where if you shoot the button and head out, you'll actually pick up the arrow, so the door will close. But I don't want to show you the end just yet, because we have a whole nother set of places to go check out in this temple. I love the feel of this place. This is really nice. Oh, I got lucky. The door hasn't closed yet. Trust me, it will in whenever the time limit elapses. Well, there we go. What did I tell you? It's awesome. That's not that hard a puzzle to get over, right? It's not bad. Not all traps have to be amazing. Another little small treasure chamber back here. Because consider that when you do like a big temple, not everybody will find all the secret surprises. In fact, maybe some people will make the mistake of walking onto that plate just to see what it will do, and then it will kill them. But this is accurate, right? If you run into a big dungeon, you might just get killed. In this room, we have more dispensers, which you know will obviously spawn more enemies. We have a button behind this guy, which will obviously spawn more enemies. Sometimes the obvious traps are obvious. I mean, it'll work. People have fun just exploring places, right? In fact, stepping on these will have the same effect. But my best trap, I think, in the entire thing is, and I'm going to go back, no, I'm not going to go back into survival mode because it will kill me, is right here. The stairs look a little bit different. If I could avoid that, I would. But basically, you step on the tripwire, opens up this, you fall down through the string. Oh, isn't that crazy? And that's just a little loading error. I love that. Okay, tripwire on stairs, make stairs pull out of way. You fall onto string. String activates things. You saw it yourself. I can stop explaining it now. Basically, you fall 3 floors back into the lava you presumably activated in the other room to your death. So it's technically still your fault. And behind the stairs in this room is where you would end up before. So even empty rooms have purposes sometimes. Maybe I'll add some more empty rooms just to mess with people's heads. And then on the very way out, you see some more dispensers. I haven't actually hooked these up to a trap yet. I might, or I might just leave them here as kind of an uh-oh, what is going on here? When there's really nothing going on here. And they're just a red herring to scare people. Activate the button again, walk out, and you pick up the arrow on the way out, so it automatically closes the door behind you. Alright, let's fly around so we can actually look at the size of this place. I think I've basically showed you all that this temple comprises. There is a lot of redstone going on, particularly with tripwires activating dispensers in the next room, for example. Or all the various switches in that big central room down below. But I feel that it's all important to be there. When I finally world edit this place in, I'm going to need to make this this top layer all sand on top of sandstone. Because you paste it relative to you, right? So if I stand here on the ground and relatively paste it in, that's how you make underground dungeons, because it'll all be under the ground. So basically, I've got to make sure the top layer works, or it won't look right at all. In fact, you'll probably be able to fall through the ground to your death, which I don't really want. Not yet, anyway. When you think about pyramids, I like my builds to be logical. Like, you've got your treasure chambers down below, which the traps could reasonably kill you. You've got other traps, which are, if you can figure out how to avoid them, relatively simple to get through. That lava parkour, though, that is one thing that everybody will have to do to get out. And actually, if you jump on the tripwire a couple of times, you might actually be able to avoid the lava coming out the sides entirely. In fact, just running through the puzzle fast enough might be right. But again, if you think about adventurers coming through any sort of temple, when you think about, like, the different messages you're sending to them, right? Like, if the first time they see, a tripwire, they realize, oh, there's got to be a trap here, and then, they'll be more careful. Or if they realize that, hey, the first button behind one of those creeper statues gave me a prize. What happens if I stand on this one? And then it kills them. It's a little cruel. But so you have to have hints like here and there. And there are signs all around giving them hints about how, arrows will only last 60 seconds. So be sure to run through the rooms. There aren't actually any places where you could get trapped unless somebody lets you out. There's always an exit. Always be sure that when you build a place that people can't get themselves trapped. I am not going to allow people to have ender pearls here for obvious reasons, that they can just skip whole areas. But at the same time, even if you could skip to the end, wouldn't you miss some of that great treasure? you know, you got to be cautious because since other mobs can actually set off traps, you know, I may have to light this place up a little bit more underneath, which might take out some of the ambience. But I'd rather have some of the ambience removed than have this entire death trap be self-perpetuating rather than someone setting them all off. Man, I absolutely love how stairs comes together, you know, like the corner sides and all of that really make this feel great. And it's not a big temple on the top either. I think you'll actually need, like, a book to tell you to shoot in the eyes of the creeper. Like, anybody wandering through here might get hit by fire, fall in the lava trap, and then just not know what to do. Like, it looks pretty solid. But I like that. I like there actually being a hidden thing that people have to do, which is actually the namesake of the entire temple. And since they actually have to have a bow and arrow to get through this, I feel like, you know what? As an adventure temple where you need a bow and arrows, you know, I think I've given them everything they need to be able to survive in this place. Hope that gave you a few ideas of what you can do with, like, say, the wooden buttons, piston traps, things like that. Let's go back to GM survival and actually see how deadly some of these traps are. Like, for example, if you just kind of are like, oh, I can get to the labyrinth here. Whoops. Whoops. Oh. Maybe if I hadn't landed there, I wouldn't have just straight up died. But you never know. And that's kind of something you need to keep in mind, too. There we go. Oh, this is bad. There we go. A lot of arrows flying, I gotta tell you. I like me some arrow traps. I like me some arrow puzzles. And I really like those tripwire lava traps. Let's go back through that one last time, just because it's awesome. If you can think about other people, like, running through this at once, and I don't even know if PvP will be on or not, you can imagine other people, like, killing each other. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in my next video. See you later!